The Long Game is possibly the weakest episode in Christopher Eccleston's season of Doctor Who. The guest cast are solid, but the story is weak and lacking in tension. The visuals are nothing special, and it all feels a bit half-baked. Thankfully, with the benefit of hindsight, we know this is about as bad as it gets. For the second time this season, the setting is a space station orbiting Earth. At this point, the low budget is starting to become obvious, with every episode either on Earth or orbiting it, and the viewers would have been starting to realise they weren't likely to see any alien planets anytime soon. The scene at the observation window is almost identical to the one from The End of the World. Rose did not faint in that one, but Adam does, and rather unconvincingly as well. It's not a very appealing vision of the future, with everybody eating fast food and watching hundreds of news channels, but I guess that is the point, as history has been changed for the worse. 20 years ago, the proliferation of news channels would have been quite topical. Now it seems a bit outdated, as social media has largely taken over the role of shaping people's opinions. But of course, Russell T Davies couldn't have predicted that at the time. Adam's storyline is somewhat unique for Doctor Who. He's a companion who uses his knowledge of the future for his own selfish ends. He's a lot less sympathetic than he was in Dalek. Now he seems to be taken after Van Statten. Any sympathy you may have had for him goes out of the window when he agrees to have a giant spike implanted in his forehead. He really deserves everything he gets after that. While Adam is off having his own adventure, the Doctor and Rose get to the bottom of why society has stagnated, and it turns out a consortium of bankers have handed control of the station over to the evil Jagrafess, which is a big alien blob with a mouthful of teeth that lives on the ceiling. It's not remotely scary, as it's all done with CGI, so it never feels like a real threat. It might have been more menacing if it had ripped people to shreds. Instead, it just turns them into ice zombies, so the way to kill it is painfully obvious. At the end, Adam is sent home without ever stepping foot on the TARDIS set, at least not that we see. It does seem a little harsh that the Doctor leaves him there with a permanent physical deformity that manifests anytime anybody snaps their fingers. So basically, he can never leave his house. He'll have to become a YouTuber. Admittedly, Adam did volunteer for the procedure, but he didn't really know what he was letting himself in for. Apparently in the comics he comes back as a villain, and it's not surprising. The villain in this story is the editor, played by Simon Pegg. This was after Shaun of the Dead, but before he did Star Trek or Mission Impossible, so they managed to get him just before he became a major movie star. It's not great casting, he's just doing a lot of evil monologue into camera and giggling at every opportunity, like a villain in a kids' show. He's much more at home when he's playing the relatable everyman type. I get that he probably wanted to stretch himself, but it doesn't really work. Christine Adams plays Kathika. She has had a long career, and is possibly the only person to have starred in both Noel's House Party and The Mandalorian, and this episode is about halfway between the two. She gives a solid performance. Her character goes from being an ambitious career woman to dismantling the whole system once the Doctor has shown her the truth. Anna Maxwell Martin plays Suki. She looks very young here. This is one of her first roles, and she's since gone on to be in big TV dramas like Bleak House and comedies such as Motherland. Her character is not that believable on paper, seeming like a naive young woman until she reveals herself to be a secret terrorist. Luckily Martin is good enough she can just about make it work. And there's also a small role for Tamsin Gregg as the rather flirtatious nurse. She's another actor who can straddle comedy and drama, and it's still possible that she could end up playing the Doctor someday. The DVD has a 12-minute episode of Doctor Who Confidential, loosely themed around evil geniuses, although there have only been about 3 of them in the season so far. Simon Pegg narrates the whole season of Confidential, and there's a good outtake as we see him messing up the line about the Jagrafess multiple times. Corey Johnson talks about playing Van Statten, and Russell T Davies explains what he was going for with his story of Adam. And there's a commentary from director Brian Grant, Bruno Langley, who played Adam, and Christine Adams, who played Kathika. Grant takes the lead, talking about the sets being redressed and the Blade Runner references he's put in there, while the others mainly talk about their own characters, and we learn that Adam's dad was originally sick, giving him a much more selfless backstory. So it's a jolly listen, and slightly more entertaining than the episode itself. Overall, there are some good performances, but it's a very weak story. I'll give it 3 out of 10. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my reviews, then please consider joining my Patreon, where I review 8th Doctor audios every week and 7th Doctor novels every month. And my review of Time Worm Apocalypse should be going up later this week. Also this week, the next video on this channel should be my review of the first 2 episodes of The War Between the Land and the Sea. At the time of recording, I haven't seen it yet, so it could be brilliant or terrible, I just don't know. But I'll try to get my review of it up on Wednesday or Thursday. Next week I'll be reviewing Father's Day. I think that was a good one, so please subscribe if you want to know what I think of it now, and I'll see you next time.